non expedit. The Holy Father decrees it is unacceptable for Catholics to vote.
This one behind me is exactly the point in which the Italian soldiers breached the wall of Rome and entered to free the city from the Pope. Buongiorno a tutti ragazzi, Luca here, professor of history and enthusiast of Italian culture, and many people in the comments ask me, Luca, are Italians as Catholic as people might think? What's the relationship with the Catholic Church? And today, from the beautiful St. Peter's Square behind me, we're going to try to answer this complicated question. Stick around. As with all things in life, if we really want to understand a certain phenomena, we absolutely have to go back in time to see its origin. And this is the case of today's story. When in 1861, after nearly 1500 years of political division, Italy became a unified nation, Rome was not part of it. Yes, you understood correctly, for 9 years from 1861 to 1870, Rome was not included in the newly formed Kingdom of Italy. A coincidence? Absolutely not. And the issue of the Catholic Church was exactly the reason why. Throughout the entire process of the Italian unification, starting from the early 19th century onwards, with very few exceptions, popes had always been fiercely opposed to the idea of a unified Italy. The Church knew very well that in a country unified under a single monarchy, the Church's grip over the Italian population would be hugely diminished. And the fact that the Church was an enemy of the newly formed Italian government was such a huge problem for a young nation like Italy. Many Italians, encouraged by the Pope, saw the Italian government as an enemy, as an usurper, as an enemy of the faith. Behind me you see Porta Pia, one of the main ancient entrances to the city of Rome. When in 1861, 9 years after the Italian unification, the government decided it was time to include Rome and make it the capital of the new Kingdom of Italy, they had to do it by force. There was a fierce battle, and the Italian army had to open a breach in this wall, and the Pope, fiercely opposing this design, until the last moment of the battle, sent his soldiers to die here in this breach. It was a terrible battle, but at the end, the Italian army triumphed. After the battle, this monument next to me was created to commemorate the Italian soldiers who died in the effort of liberating Rome and make it the capital of Italy. And the Pope took it very badly. The Italian government tried to find an appeasement, and they issued a law known as Law of Guarantees, which basically granted the Pope absolute possession over the Vatican area. They reassured the Church that they would remain the main spiritual authority in Italy, exclusive property of many buildings in Rome. They said that Catholic religion would remain the main religion in Italy, but despite this, the Pope took it very badly and called this law a monstrosity. And since then, the relationship between the Catholic Church and the Italian government went very, very bad. Following these events of the law of guarantees, the Pope's response was terrible. He strengthened a directive that had already been in place since 1861, known as non-expedit. Basically, he clearly said to all Italian Catholic faithful that they should not be involved in the Italian political process. They should have seen the Italian government as an enemy of the Church, an enemy of God, and they should not have had anything to do with the newly formed Italian government.
Non expedit, the Holy Father decrees it is unacceptable for Catholics to vote.
So Italians found themselves in a very difficult spot of having to choose between being loyal to the faith or loyal to the country. And for a young nation like Italy, this was a huge problem that was fixed only during the fascist period, when the regime understood that without the support of the Church, it would have been much more difficult to control the Italian society. And for this reason, in 1929, the Holy See and the Italian state signed the very famous Lateran Treaties. This treaty granted absolute sovereignty of the entire Vatican area and St. Peter to the Church. So this officially became the Vatican City, a state apart from Italy. Second, Catholicism was named the only state religion of Italy, and the Pope was given a huge amount of money as a compensation for what happened in 1870 with the siege of Rome. And to celebrate this new reconciliation between the Church and the state, this road behind me, Via della Conciliazione, was built. From the Second World War, at least until the end of the 20th century, thanks also to the Christian-inspired party that uninterruptedly ruled over Italy for more than 50 years, the so-called Democrazia Cristiana or Christian democracy, the Church maintained a strong hold on the Italian society. Hundreds of books have been written about these topics, and this video cannot answer all the questions. But one thing is certain, and this is very important despite what many foreigners think. Even in the past, not all Italians were fervent Catholics, and many had never forgiven the Church for its aversion toward the Italian unification. But what's the situation today in 2024? I know that many of you won't believe me, because especially foreigners are accustomed to the idea that Italians are so Catholic, they love the Pope so much, so it's difficult to accept this. But believe me, 2024 Italy is a very secularized country where Catholic religion has lost a lot of grip in recent decades, and just as much power. And just let data speak for itself, clearly, unequivocally, from people who declare themselves Catholic, to marriages, to baptism, to new vocations, to people who declare they go to church every Sunday. Everything has been collapsing for at least 40 years. And there is a clear generation gap. All people who are at least 70 years old or younger, therefore who were at least teenagers during the period of 1968, where more or less everything began, they undergone a huge process of secularization. The rest, people 70 plus, who in Italy are nearly the majority of the population, because unfortunately we are the oldest country in the world, they are still incredibly attached to the Catholic Church and the Catholic faith. And you can realize this just by going to any mass in any Italian church. The vast majority of the people are very elderly. And you can realize something else. Most of the priests, they're not Italian, and usually they're not even European. what about the young people, the young Italians? First of all, young Italians, because of the demographics of Italy, the catastrophic demographics of Italy, are a little minority of the population. And this minority really don't care anymore about the Catholic Church and the Catholic faith. I can clearly see this in the high school where I teach. In Italy, we have a mandatory 1 hour a week of Catholic religion in school, but if your parents sign a certificate, you can not attend, you can decide not to attend. And at least in my classes, at least 50% of the people, they decide not to attend this class. And I'm not talking about people with different origins, maybe people whose families are Muslim or other religions. No, I'm talking about Italian families that decide not to attend the weekly hour of Catholic religion. And another interesting aspect that contrasts a lot with the stereotype that many foreigners have about Italy is about marriage. Nowadays, the great majority of couples do not get married at all, neither civilly nor with the religious ceremony, and they decide, the very few people in Italy who still decide to have kids, they decide to have kids without getting married. Absolutely, it's the majority of the population in Italy now. Most of the people I know who have kids, they are not married at all. Now it's super common in Italy, and not even the elderly, not even my 94-year-old grandma is surprised. It's the normality in Italy. But be careful, and I want to finish the video with this topic that I think is very, very important. If the Catholic faith is absolutely in crisis in Italy, Catholic morality is stronger than ever. I'm talking about the vision of the world, the way of relating to others, the way of judging good and evil, of judging important ethical issues such as the abortion or euthanasia. Morality, believe me, is so much stronger than religion because it takes over every aspect of life, everything. And in Italy, believe me, for more than 2000 years, Catholic morality, for better or worse, has been the dominant force.
Sull'umanità è calato nuovamente l'incubo della guerra, che è la negazione del sogno di Dio. Rinnovo l'appello ai responsabili delle nazioni. Non portate l'umanità alla rovina.
And actually, one of the reasons why Italy is always #1 peaceful country in the world against any kind of war, conflict, even if Italians don't know anything about the specific war, we don't know whether or not that conflict might be in the national interest of Italy. We're just like, no war, no conflicts. Many people in Italy don't even want the country to have a regular army. There are many reasons why, but the one I'm very interested today is exactly Catholic morality. Even people who are Italians who are not Catholic, believe me, they are greatly influenced by, for example, the speeches that every week the Pope gives from the square, from St. Peter's Square, and that find a lot of space in the Italian media. And this Catholic mentality and morality, again, even on people that they're not Catholic, is very strong. This is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in the complicated relationship between Italians and the Catholic Church and Christianity in general. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao, ragazzi.